Nearly 1 out of every 2 women over the age of 60 experiences pain during intimacy, yet most never talk about it. Not with their doctor, not with their partner, and often not even with themselves. What makes this more concerning is that many assume this pain is simply a normal part of aging, but recent clinical findings suggest something very different. In many cases, the real cause is not aging itself. It's a combination of hormonal shifts, reduced circulation, nerve sensitivity, and pelvic muscle changes that quietly develop over time. And the most important part, many of these factors are reversible or manageable once you understand what's really happening inside the body. In this video, we'll explore the hidden physiological reasons intimacy can become painful after 60, and more importantly, what modern medicine and health science suggest you can do to restore comfort, confidence, and connection. Because this conversation isn't just about intimacy, it's about health, vitality, and quality of life. One of the most overlooked causes of discomfort after 60 is long-term estrogen decline. Most people associate menopause with temporary symptoms, hot flashes, sleep disruption, mood changes. But what many women are not told is that estrogen continues to decline for decades after menopause, and estrogen plays a crucial role in maintaining the health of vaginal and pelvic tissues. Recent clinical research refers to this process as genitourinary syndrome of menopause, or GSM. This condition affects vaginal tissue thickness, natural lubrication, elasticity of the vaginal wall, local blood flow. When estrogen levels fall, the tissue lining becomes thinner, drier, and less flexible. This change is known medically as vaginal atrophy. But this is where most people misunderstand the situation. Pain is not simply caused by dryness. The deeper issue is that the tissue becomes more fragile and sensitive to pressure. This is why many women experience burning sensations, tightness, irritation, pain during or after intimacy. But here's where it becomes even more important. Without attention, these tissue changes can gradually affect bladder health, urinary comfort, and pelvic stability. Which brings us to another factor that few discussions include. Healthy tissue depends on adequate blood flow. Circulation delivers oxygen, nutrients, and hormonal signals to every cell. But as we age, vascular efficiency naturally declines. Arteries become slightly less elastic, capillary density decreases, and sedentary lifestyles, common after retirement, can reduce pelvic circulation even further. What most people over 60 don't realize is that the pelvic region relies heavily on microcirculation. Reduced blood flow can lead to tissue dryness, reduced sensitivity, slower healing, increased inflammation, and when circulation declines, the body produces less natural lubrication. But this is where most people go wrong. They assume lubrication products alone solve the issue. While they can help temporarily, they don't address the underlying circulation problem. Improving blood flow requires a broader approach involving movement muscle activation, cardiovascular health, nutritional support. And this leads us to a third factor that often surprises people. Inside the pelvis is a complex network of muscles known as the pelvic floor. These muscles support the bladder, the uterus, the bowel, and play a role in sexual comfort and function. After the age of 60, several changes can occur. Muscle fibers lose strength, connective tissues lose elasticity, and nerve signaling becomes slightly slower. This process is known as muscle atrophy. When pelvic floor muscles weaken or become imbalanced, two things may happen. Some muscles become too weak, others become chronically tight in compensation. Both conditions can contribute to discomfort during intimacy. Here's what spine and pelvic specialists are now focusing on. The pelvic floor is not isolated. It works closely with the hips, lower back, and deep abdominal muscles. If the spine becomes stiff or hip mobility decreases, the pelvic floor may compensate by tightening. This can create pressure and sensitivity in the surrounding tissues. But here's where the situation becomes even more interesting. Pain is not only about tissue structure, it's also about nerve signaling. The pelvic region contains a complex network of nerves, including the pudendal nerve, which plays a role in sensation and pelvic muscle control. With aging, several factors can affect nerve sensitivity: reduced circulation, chronic inflammation, postural compression in the lower spine, muscle tightness around nerve pathways. If a nerve becomes slightly compressed or irritated, it can create sensations such as burning, sharp discomfort, hypersensitivity, and this is where most people go wrong. They treat the symptom at the surface, but the real issue may be occurring higher up in the lower spine or pelvic muscles. For example, tight hip flexors or glute muscles can indirectly affect pelvic nerve pathways. This is why some specialists now recommend mobility-based therapy alongside hormonal or lubrication treatments. But there's one more hidden factor that becomes increasingly important after 60. Chronic low-grade inflammation becomes more common with age. This can be influenced by diet, sleep quality, stress levels, metabolic health. Inflammation affects how tissues repair themselves. When inflammation remains elevated, tissues may become more sensitive, slower to heal, less resilient to friction or pressure. This creates a cycle. Pain leads to avoidance. Avoidance reduces circulation. Reduced circulation slows tissue recovery, and the cycle continues. But the encouraging news is that inflammation is highly responsive to lifestyle adjustments. Even modest changes can make a meaningful difference over time, which leads us to practical strategies that many clinicians now recommend. Let's look at several science-supported approaches. Gentle daily movement. Movement improves circulation throughout the body, including the pelvic region. Particularly helpful activities include walking 20-30 minutes daily, gentle yoga, or stretching, hip mobility exercises, pelvic floor strengthening, such as Kegel exercises. These movements stimulate blood flow and maintain muscle tone. Pelvic floor therapy. Many physical therapists now specialize in pelvic health therapy. They can help retrain muscles that are either weak or overly tight. This therapy often includes muscle awareness training, relaxation techniques, gentle strengthening exercises. For many women, this can significantly reduce discomfort. Nutrition for tissue health. Certain nutrients support circulation and tissue repair. Omega-3 fatty acids help reduce inflammation. Vitamin D supports muscle function. Magnesium helps relax muscle tension. Protein intake helps maintain muscle mass and tissue strength. Hydration is also important for maintaining tissue elasticity. Medical support. For some women, doctors may recommend local estrogen therapy, prescription vaginal moisturizers, non-hormonal treatments that support tissue health. These options can restore tissue thickness and lubrication over time. But this is important. Every woman's physiology is different, which is why discussing symptoms openly with a healthcare professional can be extremely valuable. And that brings us to something many women rarely hear. Many women grew up in a time when discussing intimate health was considered uncomfortable or even inappropriate. As a result, symptoms are often ignored for years. But modern medicine recognizes that intimate health is a vital part of overall well-being. Pain is not something you simply have to tolerate. And seeking help does not mean something is wrong with you. It means you're taking care of your health. When these issues are addressed early, improvement is often very possible. Circulation can improve, muscles can regain strength, tissues can recover, confidence can return, and relationships often benefit as well. Aging changes the body. That is natural. But pain and discomfort are not inevitable outcomes of those changes. Understanding the real biological factors, hormones, circulation, muscle health, nerve function, and inflammation, opens the door to meaningful solutions. The key is awareness. When you understand what your body is experiencing, you can respond with the right strategies instead of frustration or silence. And many women find that with the right care and support, comfort and confidence can return at any stage of life. If you found this information helpful, consider subscribing to the channel. Here we focus on evidence-based health insights for adults over 60. helping you stay informed, strong, and confident as your body evolves. Because health after 60 is not about limitation. It's about understanding your body and supporting it wisely.